Hey, everybody. Welcome to 846 Publishing. And I am so excited about today's recording and the person that you are going to meet that you see here to my right. You are in for a treat. This is Natalie Ramos, and she is the author of Recipe for Life. Welcome, Natalie. I'm so glad to have you this morning.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. This has been a long time coming. And guys, I want you to know about the book that Natalie has written. And actually, I'm saying Natalie, but in reality, there are two authors on this book. It's Natalie and her daughter, Tiana. And they have put together what I think is one of the most unique books I've ever been a part of, I've ever seen, I've ever read. It's a book called Recipe for Life. And let me put it on the screen because I think that you'll get a real sense of how really unusual this book is. The colors, I think, Natalie, are really, really beautiful on this book. It just pops as a cover, right? It's pretty interesting as a cover, but even more than that, what I want you to get a sense of is how the book is written, because it is not just about recipes for life, it's about recipes in reality, right? It's everything. It's the real recipes and the recipes for life. I think that's pretty cool. How did you come up with this idea?
Well, I came up with the idea because, through all the trials and tribulations that I've gone through, food has always been a pivotal point for me, for my family. It's a way that brought us together. It was a way that defined the sad moments as well as the happy moments. And so, you think of something you do, like, for example, with us on the cinnamon rolls for Christmas morning, that is something that we do every Christmas. We've done it for 25 years in tradition. So it would only be, fitting to use that cinnamon roll recipe and have everyone understand there's a meaning more besides just the standard cinnamon roll. There's a depth into that cinnamon roll. It's about tradition. It's about love and gathering as well.
Yeah, that's what's so cool about the book is where you've placed the recipes really speaks to what was going on in your life at the time, the struggles, obviously, and some of the joys that you were experiencing at that time. Now, you wrote this with Tiana. What was that like? I mean, I'm the mother of an adult daughter. I don't think I could get my daughter to do something like
It was absolutely pulling teeth because the younger generation, um, they like to vocalize everything, podcast everything, speak on everything. I think physically writing a book is a way of the past for them. When you can podcast it, so it was really pulling teeth. But at the end, to get her to sit down and kind of regroup and think about the things that affected her life to make her who she is today. And that was a big step for her.
Yeah, and it's pretty incredible because, folks, when you guys read this book, you're going to see that Natalie sort of tells her story, and then Tiana tells her story, her version, her perspective. And it's so rich because you get to see the event that took place in that chapter from both of their perspectives, from mother and child. It's just mind blowing. I just think the book's pretty incredible. And I'm going to read a little bit of it for you guys in just a moment. But Natalie, you are a chef. You are like a renowned chef, pretty like popular and like kind of super famous. Tell us about that journey, becoming a chef and what that's been for you.
Well, my original background was in marketing, and even when I was in the marketing industry and I used to work in the music industry for various celebrities, they would always find me in their kitchen and they would always find me cooking. So it was almost like they would look at me like to say, "What are you doing? You're in the wrong position," right? So it was when I was in Miami that I decided to push it to the next level through certain people that helped me get there. And, it took a lot of work. Coming home, I was going to culinary school. I was working, from 8 o'clock in the morning um, all the way up until, you're 6 o'clock. At 5 o'clock, then going to culinary school from 5 o'clock to, 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night. And then I still needed to have experience in the restaurant industry. So I was working at a restaurant that was at the Hollywood Casino, an Italian restaurant. And I'd go there and I'd get there at 11 o'clock and working until 3 o'clock in the morning, just so that I had the experience to know what it would be like to, because you don't want to leave culinary school and have to start on a line position making $8 an hour. So you had to have some physical experience so that you could go into this new position and be able to make a living. So it was long hours, but over time, what I found was I had the love for it, so I didn't mind. I didn't mind working, and I didn't mind, putting my heart and soul into things. So it just naturally evolved from going, becoming a restaurant manager, the banquet manager. So it was actually a great experience to learn all sides of the restaurant business, which allowed me to then become, my own. So I've done, everything from the Billboard Music Awards. I've done MTV Movie Awards. I've done, and the inaugural ball. So there's so many events that I've gotten to do, and so many celebrities that I've gotten to cook for over the years, through changing my skills. So it was great.
Oh, that's amazing. One of the things you talk about in the book, through all the things that you went through, and the book is deep, guys. I mean, Natalie promised that she was going to be raw and real and, spill all the tea, as it were, in this book. And she did just that. Like, she laid her life bare for us to read. But Natalie, one of the things you did in the book was talk about some of I call them the F's, the tenets or the principles that you live your life by. And faith seems to be one of the bigger ones that you really cling to as a foundation for your life. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I look at faith as the same way that you sit in a chair. And that's a great example of it, because when you sit in a chair, if you knew the chair would fall, you wouldn't sit in it. You would literally just say, I'm not going to sit down because I'm not going to fall. Having faith is similar to that. It's understanding that chair has the four legs, and that you're not going to fall. You're going to be, steadfast. So it's for me, when you're going through, a lot of times people tend to cling to faith when there's down times. Is someone who doesn't necessarily have that relationship with God. For them, everyone at the end, when they're on the deathbed, or someone they know is hurting, it becomes a God save them. Well, there has to be more to it, right? You can't just go to God when it's time for healing. You have to go to him in times of thanks. You got to go to him in times of gratitude. You got to go to him in times of worry. You have to lay everything bare at all times and say, I'm riding with you in the good times and the bad times. And I don't like when these are going wrong. And I don't like when this is happening, but I'm still riding with you, but I need you to fix this. And it's trusting that, he is going to be there, and that you're going to see the results for it. Maybe not necessarily in your time, but in his time. And I believe that goes back to even those people who don't necessarily believe in God, but they believe in the universe and they believe in the energy. It's the same thing, right? God is similar to that of that energy. It's believing that energy that you put out, that trust that you put out, that the world is going to give you what it is that you're expecting. It's going to come back. And you have to have faith that no matter what you do, the energies, the seeds that you plant, those are the results that you're going to see. I can talk about faith all day. So,
girl, that's good. That's good. My gracious. Okay, so I promised you guys he was amazing. There's the proof. I'm going to read a little bit from this book, because I want to tell you guys, first of all, this book did reach new release bestseller on Amazon. It's up for some awards. I'm so excited. I can't wait to see what awards that this book will win. And when it does, we're going to come back and we'll share that with you guys. Because I think this is really one of the best books that 846 has worked on, in the last 12 months. It's really, really a powerful read. And I'm going to prove that to you by reading just a little bit of it this time. So let me just pull it up. And here we go. This is Recipe for Life by Natalie and Tiana Ramos. This is from the introduction. What are your measurements? I bet your immediate thought was whether I was talking about your size. Not really. It doesn't matter to me if you're a petite 8 or a size 26 brick house. Those are not the measurements I'm referring to. I've had many circumstances in life, and each one helped to define my measurements or the accomplishments and quantities, forging my bridge to life. Let me ask you, how are you connected to the bridge that defines you? God created us in his image. He has a desire for us to live an abundant life. We struggle to find abundance when we continually focus on the pain instead of focusing on the recovery. That was me. It wasn't until I began to set my intentions and stay in the flow of my actions to achieve them that I started to see results. I had somehow forgotten that the how was not my concern. As long as I visualized my path, God had already set the course to my destination. Not everyone has the same measurement for the fulfillment of life. It's different for us all. Why? Because everyone has different needs. What may be good for me may not necessarily be what is intended for you to be happy. The idea behind this book is to explain the sequence of events that gave me my measurements, my lasting essentials for life, my recipe. Just like any other recipe, I broke it down into ingredients: family, faith, food, fitness, finance, and focus. In the chapters that follow, I will break each ingredient down and go into how that particular ingredient was essential for me to unearth the queen that I am. I will even provide you with some natural recipes for fabulous foods that complement the fabulous you are creating. I love this book. And that is exactly what you guys are going to experience when you read it. You're going to get a touch of Natalie's family in the good times and the bad, how her faith has carried her through all of this, how she's been financially successful, all of it. It's all there. And Natalie, I think the connection between us and food as people it's a really strong commentary on life. I think what we eat and when we eat it, they say you are what you eat. And I think that you describe food, for example, you talk about taking your daughter to a little bakery every morning on the way to school, and have like her favorite dishes, and how that became part of like the lore of your family. And we all have those kinds of connections. And I wonder, how intentional were you in which recipes you chose, or did you just have so many you had to pick your favorite ones?
No, since and I think I mentioned this even in the book, since I didn't have necessarily that structure of family. So usually when people don't have a certain structure with family, they create something in their mind of what they want, or they fall into the fact of, woe is me, I don't have this, so I'm going to be this and be bad. And they fall into the circumstances. Or, the opposite is you make a structure in your mind and say, I didn't have this, so I'm going to make sure I do this because I want my life, my future life, my children's life to be better than what I had. So I created, and I had a lot of traditions that I did with my children. And, whether it was on the way to school, stopping at the little, Cuban bakery with Tiana, or, making the ropa viejas and things like that, or the donuts that we made. It became part of tradition. That was, and it was funny because my kids would always say, don't let mom start something because now it's going to become a tradition, right? But, there has to be a moment where you say, this, I want my kids, I want my family to remember this. aspect, and
Yeah.
and having that groundwork for them to know that they too should be doing something so that their children should remember them and remember the life that they provided for them.
Yeah. Yeah. I could talk to you all day, but I have one question I've been dying to ask you, and particularly more in terms of advice for people who are listening, because there was one point in your life, there were a few, but one point in particular that I think you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, where you were sort of at your lowest. I mean, everything was sort of falling apart. And um, I can hear and feel the despair that you were dealing with at that particular time, with the marriage and, things were not going well. What advice would you give to people when you are like at that point? Because I know, we can always say, well, if you're down, there are all kinds of things you can do. You call a friend, you can, see a therapist. I don't know, take a walk, whatever. But sometimes you are just so low, so like rock bottom that it doesn't feel like anything is going to lift you from that really awful, ugly place. What advice would you give to people who are in that place based on what you shared in your book or what you've experienced in your life?
You know, this is probably the greatest advice that I would give anyone, because now that I look back at it, I wish I would have given it to myself. And the answer is be still. Be still. And the reason why I tell you to be still is because you can't listen to God's voice and listen to the universe telling you which way you should go if you are being chaotic, if you are reacting. You can't see the land on the other side of the ocean. You can't see anything. You can't see what you're able to grasp onto to save you. You can't see if in all the chaos and all the commotion. So take that breath and be still. Take
Mm.
that moment to stand, look, hear. It will come. So, you have to understand, and I'm a true believer. Um, you know, God, God absolutely will bless the seeds that you put forth. So if you put forth bad seeds will reap, right? Those are the flowers that you're going to get. You put good
That's right.
seeds, the seeds that come up are going to be abundance and fruit, right? But in planting those seeds, there's a time that it doesn't just naturally grow. You have to be still, and you have to be still and allow the sun to do its job. You have to allow the water to do its job. You have to allow it to do its job. You have to be still. And if
Ah,
I could have told myself anything, that's what I would have told myself.
that is incredible because we get into a frenzy and we feel like we have to do something to fix our situation. And your advice is exactly the opposite. Don't do anything. Just stop.
Stop.
Wait, be still. Oh, that's amazing. That's awesome. So tell us about Fleur de Cuisine, because I'm sure there are people out there who want quality food. Can anybody get access to your food? How does it work?
Absolutely. So we have Fleur de Cuisine and we have Marie de la Fleur, the restaurants. I started these businesses because obviously when you have nothing, I had to use my God-given talent and and cook. That was what my talent was. So I built my company, knowing that I made a promise that everything I did would be so that I can do better for the universe, for the planet, for God, right? So, we are a full service catering company, and as well as a restaurant, but it's more than that. Those are just the vehicles so that I can be great. Those are the vehicles that allow us to give back to the schools, to give back to, the shelters, to give back to children, give back to laws, give back to all of the nonprofits. It's the vehicle that allows us to truly be great. Yes, we are great and we put out a great product. We do great decor, we do great elements, but that's just the surface, right? That's the tip of the iceberg that you're seeing. There's a whole mountain underneath it. And that mountain is what we're doing is changing the lives of individuals and people through our business, if you will.
Wow. Amazing. Well, guys, if you want to connect with Natalie on the cooking side, Fleur de Cuisine, that's where you need to go. It's on the screen right now, fleurdecuisine.com. You got to spell it right. In order to get there, you got to be a little refined, elevate just a bit. But Natalie's Recipe for Life.com is the website to go to learn more about the book. Frankly, just go to Amazon.com and if you type in her name or you type in Recipe for Life, you will find the book. It is available everywhere books are sold, so you can get it on any site, anywhere. I really do encourage you to grab this book and give it a read. Recipe for Life by Natalie Ramos and Tiana Ramos, and leave her a review. We're trying to take this book really to the next level. So I want you to take the time to leave her a review. It only takes 30 seconds to leave a review. And every time you leave a review, you boost her book in the algorithm and let other people find the book and know the quality of work that it is. So I want to encourage you to do that immediately, if not sooner, and cook one of those recipes. Get in there. Here's the best way I think you should read the book. This is what I've been saying. You cook the recipe, right? And it's step by step. You can follow it. You cook the recipe and then you read the chapter while you're eating the food from the recipe.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
All right. Well, anyway, the book is Recipe for Life. This has been a great time with Natalie. I mean, you got some philosophy, you got some spiritual counseling, a little bit of preaching, a lot of inspiration. And then some yummy food to talk about. I don't know what else we could do to make that any better. So Natalie, thank you so much. Congratulations on the success of the book. And it's only just begun. It is only
thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Guys, I'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.